Welcome back to Podiatry Marketing. I'm your host, Jim McDannald, joined as always by my trusty co-host, Tyson Franklin. Tyson, how are you doing today?
I'm fantastic today, Big Jim. All the dogs are where they should be. No, should be no barking during this episode or any mayhem which has happened in the past.
That's unfortunate. It's always adds a little excitement to each of the shows we do when your dog hears somebody delivering a package or just decides to let's entertain us a little bit here.
Yeah, and it's funny too. It depends what settings you're using. So if I'm recording on Zoom, I've got things set up where the dog can be going off its nut and it does not pick it up. But because we're recording this on a different platform, every little noise I make, if I bump, I keep forgetting that when I'm using Zoom, I can make noises, I can pick things up and throw stuff around and it never picks it up. This program, that is a lot more sensitive. So I have to, my chair squeaking is another thing. So I apologize to anyone if you've been listening to the episode and you hear squeaks and things dropping. It's my fault.
I'm sure they'll get over it, Tyson. I'm sure they'll get over it.
Yeah, I'm sure they will. So anyway, today we're going to talk about, you ready for it? The one thing that every new podiatry business owner should do. And this step will save years of frustration. And we're not talking about a marketing tactic or a fancy bit of tech. It's something far simpler and far more powerful. And if people are thinking we're about to talk about the book, The One Thing, that's not what we're talking about. Even though that is a fantastic book, if you have not got a copy, you should get a copy of it.
All right, you got me. I'm curious now. Where are we going to take this today?
Got you intrigued? I know. I thought I'd go for a little bit of intrigue in this particular episode. Keep people on the edge. So, some common mistakes. Before I get into it, so many new business owners focus entirely on patients and they forget about the data behind the patients. And they assume, and this is a huge mistake, that busy equals successful or being successful. So, the thing is that without data, you're basically flying blind and you can't identify what's working or what you actually need to change. So marketing becomes more of you're more guessing instead of actually having a strategy in place. So here is the one thing. Track every number from day one. Okay, we can just end the episode now and just put it all to bed. Yeah, 3 minutes in and it's done. But that's it. Track every number from day one. And most podiatrists don't do that.
That sounds simple, but yeah, you're right. I don't think I'm curious to hear how many of our listeners actually do this on a daily basis.
Well, what happens? A lot of people they start opening up the clinic. Well, they open it up, and they're just busy doing stuff, constantly doing stuff. Oh, I've heard that you should track numbers from day one, but I'll do that when I get a little bit busy because at the moment I'm folding this, I'm putting these pieces of paper there, I'm putting equipment together. They're so busy just doing things, and because they're busy, they think they're progressing and being successful. But from the first day, that first patient that walks in, you need to start tracking everything. And tracking is your best early marketing and management system. If you can track things from the first patient that comes in. I remember my first patient ever, Alex Kalinas was my first patient. $24.50 was the initial fee. And I know the exact day, I know the time, and I can still see this person when they came in my clinic because I was so excited to have my first patient as well. But from day dot, I've always kept track of the data. I've kept track of the numbers. So some of the core metrics that I think everybody should be looking at is new patient numbers for starters. How many new patients did you have come into your clinic? And ideally, I would split them to the types of new patients you're wanting to attract. So if you're wanting more routine foot care patients, you want to know how many of them are coming in. If you're wanting more MSK biomechanical type, how many of those are coming in? If you're wanting more surgical patients, how many of those are actually coming through your door? So that's the first one. You agree with that one, Jim?
Yeah, those sound like a great way to kind of segment by not only just the numbers, but kind of who they are, what you want to get, and then you can kind of make some decisions from those numbers as opposed just to Yeah, it's a good way to segment the data.
So the second thing you should do is, what are your referral sources? And don't think, oh, look, I'll look for them all later. No, you need to do this from day one. Did they come in through Google? Was it a doctor's referral? Was it word of mouth from a patient, or was it word of mouth from a family friend? Was it from a community talk? Were you on the radio? Did you do a talk at Rotary? Did you put an ad in the local newspaper if your town still has a newspaper? And no matter what the patient tells you, when you're first working and you first open up your clinic, you're the only person that's going to be seeing those patients. So every single patient that sits in, no matter what they wrote down, you need to clarify that what they told you is the truth. Because they might put there that, Dr. Jim McDannald referred me. And you go, oh, that's right, guys. That's the third person I've got from Jim. Jim is awesome. And then when you're talking, you say, so when you were talking to Jim, Jim said, you should go and see Tyson Franklin, the podiatrist, because he's awesome. And they go, oh, no. Jim said, I don't know any podiatrists in town. My receptionist might know. And you go, oh, okay. So then then I went out to the receptionist. The receptionist said, oh, I'm not really quite sure who the podiatrist is in town. Why don't you just look online? So I went online, and then I found your website, and I did a Google search. So it tells you a couple of things. Okay, they found you through Google. But also, Jim and the receptionist needs a little bit of education on who you are, where you are, because they're obviously podiatry friendly, because they said you should see a podiatrist, but they don't know anything about you. So these things we're going through, this data that you're collecting, when you're first starting, go deeper. Don't just take what they write down as being the truth, because usually patients lie, if you haven't figured that out already.
Well, not only do they lie, I think the verification point is really important, because even when I'm building websites for people, and I put in that kind of initial online form saying, how did you hear about the clinic, or what brought you to the clinic? And I'm always trying to kind of determine, like, how many choices should I give them? Because I know that if I were to fill out a form, I might look at the first 2 or 3 and just click something and just get on to the next thing, right? So it's one of those things where you need to, you want to get that good information. You think you got it from that online form, but like you're saying, you have to verify. Otherwise, they might have just been in a rush that day. They clicked that they found you, from a family friend or something, or whatever selection number 5 was out of your list of 8 different things about who referred you there, right? They just didn't have time to read the whole list. So it's definitely a solid idea to verify that information. It's an easy thing to bring up, right? How did you happen to come across the clinic, or how did you hear about us? Like, people are more than happy to volunteer that, but it's important to confirm, where you're getting those referral sources from.
Yeah, because you might, on your website, you might give them 8 options, but their option might be outside of that 8. And if you're giving those 8 options, they're probably thinking, oh, mate, I've got to pick one of these. So they actually select one. And I've done that myself heaps of times. And, or you might get a person that's been booked in. You go, oh, how'd you find out about it? I don't know, my wife made the appointment. But then you find out the wife is a patient. You go, okay, so he would have just been making stuff up. If he went from that list, it could have written down anything. So I just think that's really important.
And one other option that's kind of, trying to parse things out even more is that I used to put just search, like search, and then it'd be like Google search engines. But now with all these AI agents and stuff, are they it's a little bit, obviously it's newer. You're not really sure it's a little confusing about how to rank sometimes on these AI chat GPTs and Claudes and those things. But if people are starting to look in those places for podiatrists, it also helps you kind of decide about, where should my marketing be spent, or where should my marketing provider start spending some time? Because now people are, maybe they found me on Google, or they didn't find me on Google, they found me somewhere else. And it can kind of be a way to get feedback about the way things are moving, the way people are finding you. So you're staying a bit ahead of the ball, instead of just I don't know where they're coming from. They're just coming from the clouds, right? So,
well, that goes back to the thing. Here's the one thing: track every number from day one, because tracking everything is your best marketing and management system. That's what I said earlier on. And when you open up your clinic, like I said, you are the podiatrist who will be seeing every single patient. So while you got them there, instead of talking about baking cakes or their grandchildren, or where did they get that dress from, ask the questions, dig deeper about how they found out about you. And no matter what they tell you, just pry a little bit more. And if you think you're being nosy, yes, you're being nosy but it will be beneficial for you long term. The third thing that you should be tracking is the average dollar spend per patient. So at the end of every week, count how many patients you saw, and you count every single patient. If someone came in just to have a quick orthotic adjustment and didn't pay for it, you count them. So you count every patient, count the total amount of money that you turned over for the week, you divide it by the number of patients, and that tells you the average money that was spent per patient. And you might be thinking, well, what's the point of that? What you'll see over time is that per patient value should actually be increasing. That means that you're charging what you should be charging. You're not giving away too many free appointments. Also very helpful, if you eventually employ somebody else, your average dollar spend per patient should be the same as theirs. So you get this baseline. And if you had another person working for you and your average dollar spend was $200 per patient, but the person working for you is only $150, I would be concerned, because that means on average, for every 100 patients, that's $50 less per patient that they're actually charging. You're going to wonder why. Why is that happening? Are they giving away too many free visits? Are there problems in their treatment that people are coming back with complaints that they're not charging them for? So it's a very important number to do yourself first to get a baseline. Very important for future management.
I think that's a great point. Just having that kind of baseline helps you make good decisions in the future. Obviously, it might not seem all that important when you're first getting started off, but having that backlog of data, whether it be for another associate that comes along or just comparing you to yourself month over month or quarter over quarter, can be a pretty powerful thing.
And all these numbers we're going through that we're tracking, there's a reason behind all of them, even with your referral sources. Yes, you know where people are coming from, but all of a sudden, if you're getting referrals from Dr. McDannald on a regular basis, 3-4 a month, and all of a sudden it stops. 4 months have gone past, you haven't got one from him. If you're keeping track of this on a regular basis, you'll know in that first month, why didn't Jim refer anyone this month? And then all of a sudden you find, oh, Jim's got a podiatrist in his clinic now. Well, I didn't know that. I've been sending people down to his clinic for certain things. This is why you need to keep track of stuff. So the fourth thing is what your rebooking rate is, or retention rate. Someone comes in for a specific problem, how many of them are reappointed based on how your treatment paths work. But there should be a certain percentage that are rebooked for certain problems. So somebody comes in with pain, it should almost be 100% that person's booked in for some form of follow-up visit. You keep track of it yourself as a baseline. When you employ other people, you can then compare to make sure that everybody is actually doing the right thing.
Now, that helps you kind of measure how well you're treating the patients, right? Sometimes it's out of your control, but if you're seeing people on a consistent basis and kind of treating them for certain protocols or for certain types of diagnoses, it helps you kind of track those things along the course of time.
Yeah, the next thing is just revenue per hour that your clinic is generating. You might be thinking, but isn't this the same per dollar spent per patient? It's a little bit different. The per patient value is patients are coming in. You want to know for every patient comes in, on average, what is that per patient? The revenue per hour is just every hour that your clinic is open, what is it actually turning over? These two figures will actually relate to each other, and you can also do that per practitioner. But why it's beneficial, if you've got certain staff members that are paid per hour, an hourly wage, could be podiatrists as well. You want to know that your clinic per hour is making far more than what you're paying out per hour. You want to make sure that ratio is right. And the last thing is, and I think this one's really important, and I know Jim is going to go, hallelujah, yes, I believe this one, is look at your Google review count and your rating. Always be keeping track of that. Always be asking for Google reviews. You want to see week after week, month after month, that is always increasing. There's some new reviews. It relates to the treatment that you're providing. And you want to see that your rating is 4.6, 4.7, 4.8 or above. You don't want to see it dropping down to 3.6 That is concerning.
No, it's an active process, right? You have to ask for these reviews in a kind way when at the right time, the right patient, so you get those well-written reviews. But like I said, you want to have the most and the highest, in that reasonable range between 4.8 and 5.0, but having the most in your area, and it's not going to happen by accident. So, you do have to, build a system for you and for your staff to make sure you're getting those reviews, and the patients want, obviously you have to provide the great care so that you get the type of reviews you want to. But super important these days, because when people just search for podiatrist near me or any kind of search into Google, they're going to see a list of providers. And if you can have a higher rating and more reviews than the competitor down the street, patients are more likely going to come to you and they're going to trust you more off the bat.
Okay, so I'm going to give you an example right now. Pretend you're a patient, you just moved to Cairns, North Queensland. It's a nice place, this is great. Oh, hurt my foot, I need to go and see somebody. So I just did a review now, podiatrist in Cairns, simple search, because I still get things from Google sent to me, and this is the number one search that people look for, podiatrist in Cairns. So whatever your area is, it's probably going to be podiatrist in whatever town, Canberra, podiatrist in Yungaburra. So I'll put in podiatrist in Cairns. So if I scroll through here, perfect example would be, we have one podiatry clinic. It's got 91 reviews. The rating is 5, has a 5-star rating. My old clinic, which is now not owned by me, it's owned by somebody else, they have 18 reviews and their rating is 3.9. The next one under that, who I know who they are, they're dodgy. But they are they've only got 5 reviews, but they are a 5-star rating. So if you're a patient, you were looking at those 3 clinics, not knowing anything about them other than 91 reviews, 18 and 5, but you got 2 of them that got 5-star reviews and one's got a 3.9. Where would you go, Jim?
Pretty obvious. The one with the higher number of reviews and the higher rating. So it's just a subconscious thing. You see the stars, you see the number of reviews, and that's where you're going to go.
Yeah, and even if you went, oh, I'm not sure, do I go to the one with 91, do I go to the one with 5? They both got 5-star. You might think, okay, one might be a little bit more active than the other one, but still 5 stars. I wouldn't be going to the 3.9.
No.
And the thing is, the 3.9 one, the people that bought my clinic, is a big corporate company. They don't look at this stuff anymore. So if you've got a big corporate company that's in your area, don't fear them, because they don't look at this stuff, which is why you as the business owner should be looking at it.
Absolutely.
Frustrates me, Jim, just frustrates me. Anyway. So the idea is, when you think about how should you do all this, how do you keep it? Just keep it simple. A spreadsheet to start with is fine. Sheet of paper, just write these things down. I don't care if you just do it manually with crayons. Just record it somehow. If you've got a good computer system, good patient management system, you'll be able to drag this information out. That will make it look a little bit better. But the important part is what gets measured gets improved. And this gives you control over the growth of your business. So if you don't measure anything, you can't improve something you don't measure. That's a really important. It was a quote from someone. I can't remember who it was. I think it was the guy at Kitcher and Levin or something like that. And he said, 50% of my marketing works, 50% doesn't. I just wish I knew which 50% it was. And that's what happens when you don't measure it. So now, how this links to your marketing is data shows you where to focus your marketing spend. So you'll discover which referral channels bring the right patients. So just because you get a lot of new patients, you want to make sure you're getting the right ones. And it'll tell you which campaigns produce the best results. This is why you keep track of the figures. And when to ramp things up or when to sort of pull things back a little bit. Because if you're putting money into a certain area and it's going really well and you can see the patient numbers coming through, you might go, okay, now it's time to just ease off a little bit, because you might be getting close to capacity and you don't want to be making people wait too long for an appointment, because then they're just going to go somewhere else.
Yeah, you got to be careful with that, right? Like, you have to understand, what you're able to do, what type of patient you want to bring in. But yeah, if you're getting to the point where it's, 2-3 weeks out to see you, and you're, promising, depending on, what you're promising in the marketing campaign, hopefully it's not urgent care replacement or an emergency services campaign where you're having to book people out that far. But yeah, depending on what the campaign is, make sure you're delivering on your promise and providing great service. But if it's getting to the point where the waiting line is getting too long, then that's a time to push pause for a bit.
Yeah, and that like we it's good to be at capacity, but you don't want to be making people wait too long to get to the point, especially when they're in pain. So the idea behind all this and how it ties in with the marketing is your marketing then becomes a really measured investment instead of it just being an emotional decision every time. Oh, the guy down the road's doing this. Maybe I should be doing something. Oh, I saw somebody on Instagram. They were doing all these really cool videos. Maybe I should be doing really cool videos. You don't want to be reactive. You just want everything to be a measured sort of decision. So here's the bonus tip. Build relationships early. So this is a bonus tip other than the one thing that you should always be doing. Because people might go, is that all we're getting? No, we're going to give you a bonus tip. So don't wait until you need referrals before you start getting out there and networking. I believe in going to lunches, and I've said this dozens of times before, you need to get out there, introduce yourself to GPs, your physios, your gyms, your running clubs, other health providers. And the big question is, you may have heard me say this a dozen times on this podcast, even more, but are you doing it yet? Have you actually got off your bum and gone out there to try and connect with different people in your area and then also maintain that relationship? I bet you haven't. If you have, good. But if you haven't, get out there and actually start doing it.
No, there's no substitute for shaking hands and seeing people face to face. I think that definitely
Get some babies.
post pandemic, people are really want to have these kind of, most of the time, they want to have kind of interpersonal relationships with people, kind of making contact. That's not just always through, Zoom calls and through, online video calls. It can make a big difference to go into someone's clinic, listen to them about their clinic, what they're trying to build, understand their needs, and then see if it's a good fit, a good match for what you're trying to do in your practice. Sometimes it's going to be, maybe it's not a direct fit or direct match for what you want, but at the same time, you're making connection there and showing interest in what they're doing. And that will sometimes lead to other, connections and other relationships down the line.
Yeah, and I always say, don't assume one visit from you is all that is needed. That isn't actually a lazy way to approach this. Strong referral networks, they do compound your marketing results. So when you have a good relationship with people and you're doing some form of marketing, it's not just patients that see it, but your referral network also sees it, and that reinforces. So if I'd met a physiotherapist once, and that was the only time I'd ever seen them, and years had gone past before I'd had anything else to do with them, and they were doing some form of marketing, I probably wouldn't notice it. But if I saw them on a regular basis at different networking events and they were helping out at a community event, and I kept seeing them when they're marketing, I would probably notice that more. So it does have a compounding effect with your marketing. And I always say you need to do this. You need to build familiarity with these people before your competitors do. Because if you don't do it, more than likely the guy down the road may be doing it. And you might be wondering, why don't I get referrals from Jim anymore? Jim used to refer heaps of people to me. Well, Jim now knows the other podiatrist better. And that's just what happened. So to wrap things up, just to recap, is track every number from day one, and your marketing decisions will always be smarter. And we encourage you to look at your numbers this week if you haven't been doing it, even if it's just new patients to start with. If you've never been tracking anything before, you go, oh, geez, that seemed like a really long list, Tyson. There were 6 things that I should be doing. Just start with new patients. And then later on, add referral sources. Where are they coming from? And then build from there. Just keep building onto it until you're doing all those collecting that main data. And if you do that, I tell you, you're going to be much happier.
Now, when you start collecting that information, right, you have the knowledge to make, like you talked about, better decisions for you and for your clinic, for your patients. But you got to get started though. You can't just be putting it off and putting it off. It has to be something that you start doing now, and it can pay benefits down the road.
Yeah. And if you enjoyed this information, if you found this useful, share it with podiatry friends if you have some. If you don't have any, then just keep all the information to yourself. But if you know anybody, not just podiatry, if you know anyone that is starting out in business, pass this information on to them, because it doesn't just relate to podiatry. You've got a friend who's opening up a barber shop. It's exactly the same thing. You need to keep track of these particular numbers. And if you need help with any of this sort of stuff, please reach out to Jim or myself. Yes, this is a shameless self-promotional plug that we are here to help podiatrists who want to actually grow their businesses. And yeah, so how do they get hold of us, Jim?
Yeah, the easiest way is to go to our website, podiatry.marketing. There's a form, a contact us form. They can get in touch for some expert podiatry business coaching from Tyson, or people are looking to do things online to better their online presence and their website and their online campaigns. I'm there to help, educate, but also, if you need me to do it for you, I can do that as well. So yeah, definitely head over to podiatry.marketing and fill out the contact form and get in touch.
Well, you've got your own website as well, haven't you? Podiatrygrowth.com.
Yep, they can go there as well and get in contact and set up a time to chat if they choose to.
Yeah, or if you want to just get hold of me directly, just tysonfranklin.com. Nice and simple. So that's it for me this week, Jim. I hope everyone gets out there, starts measuring a few things, and it will definitely improve their business.
Sounds like a plan, Tyson.
Okay, I will talk to you again next week.
All right, bye now.
Okay, see ya.